love lives here.
Here at Centers for Spiritual Living Worldwide, this year we are working with the theme of Timeless Wisdom, Evolutionary Vision. Timeless Wisdom, Evolutionary Vision. Because at Centers for Spiritual Living, what we work with is we work with the wisdom traditions of the world. We don't just focus on one particular wisdom tradition. We recognize the value, the inherent worth in all of the world's great wisdom traditions. And so we know that that wisdom is timeless, that wisdom is infinite, that wisdom crosses cultural borders, it crosses theological borders. There is this wisdom that is at the root of everything. And it is a wisdom of oneness, it is a wisdom of love, it is a wisdom of wholeness that continues to express itself. And it continues to express itself how? In an evolutionary way, by continuing to open to a greater idea, by continuing to expand upon itself, by continuing to express itself in an evolutionary vision. So that's what we're working with this whole year, this timeless wisdom expressing and fulfilling itself as an evolutionary vision or through an evolutionary vision. That the vision continues to expand and unfold, that life itself is forever expanding and forever expressing. So this month here at Centers for Spiritual Living Worldwide, our topic, our theme, for the month that supports the larger theme is reaching higher. Reaching higher. Last month, we took a pause, right? We took a pause for spiritual guidance. And so we sat back and we just really had the opportunity to be present with, to take a pause and to be present with Spirit, to be open and available to listen to the guidance of Spirit, rather than always trying to figure out a way or making things happen or trying to fit a round peg into a square hole or a square peg into a round hole, whatever rather than trying and efforting, right? We talked about being open to the vision. We talked about spiritual discernment. Reverend Victoria, thank you so much for speaking a couple weeks ago, talked about the guidance positioning system, your God positioning system of recentering in spirit. And last week, Dr. Naima spoke about rise and emerge. And she shared with us her personal story of her own rising and emerging into something new. So now this month, we are talking about reaching higher. We have kind of, along this spiritual journey that we've been on this month, we took a pause last month, kind of like that roadside pause if you're on a road trip, and you just you stop at a rest stop, or you just kind of take a pause and look at the map and kind of reorient yourself to see where you've been so far and where it is that you might be headed. And you might even, heaven forbid, ask for directions, right? To move to where you might want to be or where you might want to be headed. And so if we think of this journey, then we think that we can see that we're now starting in September. It's kind of that time of year where, Riverside's been back in school already for a month, but where, school is starting again, things are starting anew, we're starting to harvest that which we've planted earlier in the year. And so we're entering into this time of change. We're entering into yet another time of newness where we have the opportunity to reach higher. The opportunity to do something different or to show up in a new way. Yes? Thank you. Wow. Yay. You're there. Hi. Yes. So Ed and I were on vacation last week, or 2 weeks ago now at this point, right? And so I made a pact, I made a deal with myself, I made a commitment to myself that the minute the plane landed in Baltimore, that was it. No communication, no thinking about, no ruminating about work or anything. Woohoo! And I made that commitment to Ed too, that while we are back in Delaware, visiting his family, our family, while we're back in Delaware, not opening the computer, not responding to email, not responding to phone calls. And you know what? There was very little email and there were no phone calls. It was awesome, right? I know. You know, the universe heard that I had set this intention of unplugging. And everybody, my beloveds, you helped me and you supported me in unplugging. And I want to thank all of you for that. And I want to thank Reverend Victoria and Dr. Naima for stepping into that space. And thank Neil for hosting last week and stepping into that space to allow Ed and I that time of just that spaciousness where we could recharge and then come back and be ready to reach higher. But one of the things that I noticed when we were on vacation is Ed and I don't have our TV on like on normal stations very often. We have a tendency to watch things on all the subscription channels, you know, like Hulu and Netflix and Amazon Prime and that, where we're addicted to one day at a time. That was our binge pleasure while we were gone. But Mom and Papa Joe have the TV on a lot. And so what I noticed was that there are a lot of things that have been happening in the world. Not that I haven't been paying attention, but it just seemed like in that week where there was the spaciousness, that I had the spaciousness, it was also the week that like all kinds of craziness was being like shown on TV and made aware of on TV. Does it seem like it was like crazy the past 2 or 3 weeks? I don't know. Like all of a sudden it's like, whoa, right? It seems like there was like flooding of this craziness that was happening. And so I was like looking at it, and even this morning I was like, you ever have one of those days where you just say Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is happening? I'll let that sink in for a minute. Wednesday, W, Thursday, T, Friday, F, is happening. And noticing that, you know, Texas and what they're doing in Texas, or what they did, the law that they passed, restricting women's health care. Hurricane Ida coming in at a Cat 4 in New Orleans, they're still without power, and then moving all the way up into the Northeast, killing 25 in New Jersey and 13 in New York, and all of the flooding that has been going on, and the flooding that happened in Tennessee while we were away as well, right? The fires in 14 states, the smoke that can be seen all the way across North America, the recall election that's going on, Afghanistan, and the tragedy that we're seeing in Afghanistan, and then COVID, and our kids going back to school, and this continued silly, ridiculous debate about masks and vaccines and children in hospitals now, and the Delta variant, and then watching and reading the PE and seeing the craziness of sports fans in Temecula and sports fans in Hemet chanting racial slurs against the sports teams from Moreno Valley. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, people. And notice how we feel. Notice how it makes us feel when we see these things or when we experience these things. Notice what you're feeling when I gave you that list. How are you feeling in the moment? Just notice what you're feeling. Too often, I think we have a tendency to want to go straight to, all right, I'm feeling not so hot, so let me feel better, right? Or let me numb it so that I don't have to experience it. Or let me try to jump to a happy thought. Let me think happy thoughts. Let me think good thoughts. Let me try and jump to something that is more positive. And while we do know that changing our thinking changes our life, it's beyond changing our thinking. We have to change our beliefs about what we're thinking. We also have to change our behaviors of how we're showing up. That's where the real transformation, that's where the real power of love, the transformative power of love comes in, is changing the beliefs and changing the behaviors, not just giving spiritual platitudes of, it's all good. There's a pony in here somewhere. Okay? So what we're called to do then, one way that we are called to rise above, one of the ways that we are called to reach higher, is to recognize that our experiences or what we are seeing in life or what we are thinking about life, what we are thinking mentally about life, to realize that those thoughts are not us, that we are not our thoughts. If we're not our thoughts, then what are we? What are we? We are that consciousness, that awareness that is able to view our thoughts, that's able to observe our thoughts. Thoughts come and go. Feelings come and go. If you don't have a thought in your head, do you cease being you? No. It is the consciousness that is able to observe the thoughts is who we really are. And that consciousness is universal. It's individualized as each and every one of us, but consciousness itself is the ground of all being. It is the totality. It is the allness and the fullness and the isness. It is the isness that each one of us is. So in order to reach higher, we have the opportunity to reach higher to that state of consciousness and remember who we are, to reach that state of consciousness where we are able to observe. And in order to do that, we have to go deeper. In order to reach higher, we get to go deeper in recognizing the love that is present as who we are. So going higher also means going deeper. Reaching higher means reaching deeper. And it is that love that we are in the center of our being that is that transformative power that transforms, that transmutes, that changes that which we see, that which we experience, and that which we think about. But the access point is reaching higher to that higher consciousness that we are, to the observer that we are. So, going back to what you were feeling or what you may be feeling in the moment, any given moment. Rather than identifying with the feeling, rather than identifying with the thought, what if we shifted and we observed what it is that we're thinking? We observed what it is that we're feeling. So rather than saying, oh, I'm tired. Oh, I'm overwhelmed. Oh, I'm so angry. Rather than putting the I am in front of it and identifying with the feeling, identifying with the thought, what if we switch it and we go higher, we reach higher to that consciousness and we look at it, it's like, I'm experiencing anger. The feeling of fear is present. I'm walking with sadness right now. Notice how that shifts. Notice how that shifts the feeling into being aware of it. And it creates a spaciousness that then creates a curiosity, that then creates this opportunity to be present with what is and to relate to it rather than relating from it. And when we can relate to what we're feeling rather than relating from what we're feeling, when we relate to it, we enter into a relationship. Right? And then we recognize that there's the spaciousness that then allows what it is that we're feeling, what it is that we are thinking, to transform, to transmute, to change, to pass. We then come to realize that what it is that we are thinking or what it is that we are feeling is temporary. It is temporary. Just like the weather, just like this heat that we're experiencing is temporary, right? In a couple weeks, the windows will be open again. Right? Rather than trying to force change upon it, rather than trying to make something happen, rather than relating from that feeling, we relate to that feeling. We create the spaciousness that allows spirit then, that allows the higher consciousness, that allows that our higher self to enter and to guide and to change and to transform. And how much easier is it being in this flow than being in constant resistance? Yeah? So this reaching higher, as we are encountering and going through our lives, as we are encountering and experiencing life, as we are having our experiences, as we are having our feelings, if we can just stick our head up out of the swimming pool, just poke our head above the water and take a breath and take a look around and observe. Say, I'm swimming in the swimming pool. The swimming pool looks kind of dirty. Do I want to be swimming in the swimming pool? Maybe I should get out of the swimming pool. Maybe we need to treat the swimming pool. Maybe I should help others get out of the swimming pool too. See how that works? But as long as we're swimming in the swimming pool, as long as we're swimming in the muck and the mire, we're not rising above, we're not reaching higher, we're not lifting our head out of it, we can never escape it. And then we just contribute to it. So this month, as we continue to move forward, as we continue to experience and express, I invite us to take that pause, to breathe a moment, to reframe a moment, to reach higher to our higher selves, to that higher consciousness, and allow it to observe what we're experiencing and relate from it, or relate from it rather than relating from the condition. And we relate to what we're experiencing rather than relating from what we're experiencing and getting caught. Sound like a good idea? Willing to try it this week? Try it this week. Try it for a week. See what happens. Anytime you notice yourself this week blaming, shaming, judging, complaining, yelling, screaming, crying, celebrating, having a great time, partying like a rock star. Every time you experience something, just give yourself a moment when you are aware that you are feeling something, anything, give yourself that space and go, what's really happening here? Oh, I'm having an experience of joy. Oh, I am feeling sad. Oh, I'm walking with anger in the moment. And just let it be and see what happens. I invite you to experiment. This year and next year, especially, we are talking a lot about practical spirituality. Meaning that if we don't practice, what happens? Nothing changes, right? So I invite you to practice. Practice this week. Practice it. Okay? Got it? Thumbs up. That way, next week, we don't come back and go, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is happening now. All right? All right, let's come together in consciousness. I invite our practitioners to please stand and surround the sanctuary. I invite our core council members to join them as well as we move to prayer today. There we go. Distributing it out a little bit. All right. So I invite everybody to take a nice deep breath and let's come together, shall we? Right here and right now, I recognize there is just one power, one presence, one infinite, eternal that is forever expressing itself through itself as itself. It is forever calling itself forward, calling itself higher, because there is only this one life. There is only this one power. There is only this one presence. It is all, through all, as all. It is the totality of being. There is not a spot. There is no thing that is not the divine made manifest, because in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Spirit, and the Word was Spirit, and that which Spirit did not create was never ever created. So I know that all of life, all of creation is Spirit made manifest. The universe is the manifest body of the divine itself. There is no thing, no other one, no other power that could ever be opposed to it or stand against it, because there is simply only the one. And so this one manifests and expresses itself in, through, and as me, and in, through, and as everyone gathered here this day, both online and in this sanctuary, and with everyone who ever sees this, and with all of life and all of creation. We are one with one another. We are sisters, brothers, and siblings in the one love and the one life. Each of us is a divine expression, a divine manifestation, a divine impartation of the one life. And so we are spiritual beings having a spiritual experience in this form that we call humanity. And so I speak my word here and now for all of us, for this beloved community, Riverside Center for Spiritual Living. I know the essence of who we are. Who we are is the isness and the allness and the fullness. Who we are is consciousness. Consciousness expressing. And so I know that this consciousness that we are transcends any apparent discord, transcends any apparent disharmony, transcends any apparent disease, transcends any apparent discomfort. Because there is only the harmony, there is only the wisdom, there is only the divine order, there is only the divine perfection. And when we bring ourselves to this awareness, when we bring our consciousness to this awareness, when we allow consciousness to fully inhabit and fully express through and as us, then any apparent discord falls away back into the nothingness from which it came, because there is no spiritual law to maintain or sustain or support it. The universe is happening for our good. We are experiencing good all the time when we open and allow and and avail ourselves of the awareness of this consciousness. And so the conditions of our lives are nothing more than temporary. But it is our consciousness that is our love. It is the who of who we are that is eternal. And so it is there that we focus our attention. It is there that we observe. It is from this high place, reaching higher. It is from this high place of knowing, this high place of consciousness, that we see that all ultimately truly is well. And we allow this consciousness to be our guide. We allow this consciousness to have full sway. And so I give thanks for this realization here and now. I say, use me. And I release this word into the law, knowing it is done, knowing that it is so. We let it be. And together we affirm, and so it is.
Love